Welcome, chosen one. Listen carefully, you did not arrive too late. You were never forgotten. You were never set aside. In truth, you were preserved while others scrambled for attention, while they made noise, while they played roles that were never even theirs. You remained in the shadows, silent, on fire. Under construction, they thought you had disappeared. But you hadn't. You were hidden by heaven itself. And now, you're not just making an entrance. You're overturning the entire script. You're not taking a place. You're becoming the stage, the script, the rhythm, the echo. Everything aligns around you. And the most beautiful part, they never saw you coming. They thought the movie was already over. But in reality, it hadn't even begun without you, not stepping forward to play a role. You're here to reveal truth in a world saturated with lies. You're not chasing attention. Attention is chasing you because your presence disrupts everything. This isn't a performance. It's a divine takeover, and everything that isn't real is about to tremble. So if you feel this vibration, this shiver in your soul, if you sense this message speaking to you from a sacred place within, click like, subscribe if you haven't yet, and most importantly, comment 99. Why this number? Because 99 is the step just before fullness. It's the symbol that you're on the threshold of your total manifestation, and nothing, no one, can stop what is now inevitable. Are you ready? Then stay until the end, because what you're about to hear next will rewrite your story. They erased you from their narrative as if you never mattered. They rewrote the script without you, confident, arrogant, convinced you were a closed chapter, but what they didn't know, you were the trigger. You weren't sidelined. You were in divine incubation. While they celebrated their illusion of victory, you were in another space, a space of reconstruction, sacred fire, silent alignment. You weren't trying to come back to prove anything to them. You were preparing your inner shift, and that shift was about to change. Everything on the outside, they got used to your absence. They rested in the comfort of your disappearance. They laughed. They judged. They moved forward as if you were never meant to cross their path again. But there's something they didn't understand. The chosen ones don't return. They reborn. You don't come back with the same codes, the same energy, or the same gaze. You come back different, charged with fire, clarity, and power. And now that you stand before them, they don't know how to act, because nothing in them prepared them for this version of you. The most unsettling part for them, you're not even trying to justify yourself. You're not demanding anything. Your mere existence confronts them. Your mere voice erases the lies they planted. Your mere peace provokes their insecurities. What they called weakness was the season where God stripped away everything not meant to last. What they mistook for running away was the moment you willingly entered the fire, only to emerge transformed. And today, it's not just you who changed. It's the entire balance of the script. You didn't come to reclaim a role. You became the script itself. Your very presence makes artificial constructions crumble, fake alliances crack, illusions fall, masks burn, because everything they built in your absence was based on one fatal flaw. They thought you were finished. But now that you're here, this isn't a comeback. It's an overturning. And this overturning doesn't ask for permission. It imposes a new direction, a new tone, a new truth. You didn't return for applause. You returned for truth to be restored, and in that truth, nothing will ever be the same again. But here's what they still don't know. What you're about to reveal in the next moments will shatter whatever little control they thought they still had. Are you ready? Then stay tuned, because what you carry inside hasn't even been fully unveiled yet. And this was only the beginning. They thought you were an extra name at the bottom of the page. A shadow among many. They labeled you from the start. Not assertive enough, to strange, to emotional, not made to shine. They reduced your complexity to empty words. They boxed you into categories. They understood, but they never truly looked at you. Because if they had seen what you carried, they would have known you weren't there to follow their path. You were there to scramble the map. You weren't there to obey the script. You were there to write a new one. While they played at confidence, you crossed the desert. While they chased image, you lost pieces of yourself, only to rediscover your essence. While they perfected their roles, you let yourself be stripped of everything false. And that's when everything shifted, because what they mistook for weakness was, in truth, a silent metamorphosis. What they didn't know, you were already writing. You wrote with tears, you wrote with silences, you wrote with sleepless nights where only your faith still stood. You weren't reciting lines. You were tracing a path no one else dared to walk. And now that you stand tall, there's no more room for lies, no more room for fake sets, because your truth is too heavy to ignore. They thought you'd stay in the shadows, but you were the source of light all along. They thought you were just support, but you were the invisible foundation of everything standing. And now, they're disoriented because the character they thought they knew no longer matches what they see before them. You didn't. Chanju revealed yourself. This wasn't an ascent, it was a resurrection. They gave you a supporting role, yet today, you hold the pen. And that pen, it no longer trembles. You no longer speak to be validated. You speak to liberate. You no longer move to be seen. You move to uproot the false. And every word you speak, every gaze you hold, every silence you leave hanging, it's a ripple destabilizing everything built on emptiness. They thought you were done, but they never understood your silence hid a heavenly inkwell, a sacred fire that, once released, doesn't just tell the story, it reprograms it. And now, look around at everything they built without you is already shaking, but that's nothing compared to what you're about to reveal. Because what comes next follows no known model. You never raised your hand to be noticed. You never shouted for attention. You never sold your soul for a minute of visibility, while the world screamed to be seen. You whispered with heaven. They posted. They exaggerated. They exposed themselves without restraint. You disappeared willingly, not out of fear, but out of depth. You didn't fade because you doubted your worth. You faded because you knew your true weight, and that's exactly what the others never grasped. While they fought for seconds under the spotlight, you built in the dark brick by brick, trial by trial, not to impress, but to fully embody yourself. You didn't want the stage, you wanted the substance. You didn't want the glory, you wanted the alignment. And while you were in silence, something in you grew too powerful to stay hidden. Not an explosion, not fireworks, but a quiet force of light you didn't chase, but that found you. Because you were ready. It's not recognition that validates you, it's your integrity in the shadows that shaped you. And now, eyes turn to you without you calling them. Hearts lean into your presence without knowing why. It's not your appearance, it's not your style, it's what you carry, that spiritual weight you hold in silence. Disarming everything superficial, you never ran after the light, because you are the light the world was waiting for without realizing it. And that's why. Now, it illuminates you effortlessly. It doesn't dazzle you. It reveals you. It doesn't come to flatter you. It comes to confirm what heaven already established long ago. While others simulated greatness, you cultivated the real vibration of your mission, and today, it's that vibration that attracts, that touches, that magnetizes. And what's even more fascinating, those who ignored you yesterday are now captive but unable to look away. They want to understand your secret, but they can't, because they don't know what it's like to shine without ever asking for the light. They don't know what it's like to endure entire nights without applause, and emerge brighter than those who've never known darkness. You never stepped forward to be seen. You stepped forward to be true. And that's why the spotlight doesn't expose you, it honors you. But that spotlight is sacred as it is. It's only the beginning, because what comes next won't play out in front of cameras. It will unfold at the level of souls. And in the next few seconds, you'll understand why your silence yesterday was the key to tomorrow's awakening. Their world was a stage. Their life, a script. Every word, every gesture, every emotion, a carefully calculated rehearsal. They weren't there to be, they were there to appear. They learned to smile without feeling, to speak without saying, to dress in confidence without possessing a trace of it inside. They wore masks tailored to seduce, costumes stitched from false narratives, and while they fussed under spotlights, you shone in the shadows by sheer presence. You never needed a disguise. Your truth was enough. Your gaze alone exposed what others desperately tried to hide. You weren't playing a role. You embodied a vibration. No one could name but everyone felt. And that's exactly where the chaos began, because when you entered the room, nothing needed to be said. Everything trembled. Masks slipped, performances dimmed, and the false masters of the game, they began losing control. Why? Because the real doesn't make noise, but it makes all lies leaning on it collapse. You didn't raise your voice, you didn't seek to dominate, you simply student. Your mere authenticity exposed the nakedness of their illusions. They wondered why you disturbed them, why your very existence made them falter. But the answer is simple. You weren't acting. You were living, and in a world accustomed to falseness, a being who dares to be true without justification becomes a threat. You had no strategy, no role to rehearse, no double face. And that's exactly what their world doesn't know how to handle. Radical transparency, because where everyone improvises, the one who stands in their truth becomes the mirror. No one wants to face they tried to classify. You to reduce you to reframe you. But you slipped between labels. You escaped their definitions because you didn't fit anything they knew. And the most painful part for them, despite all their noise, all their staging, it's you they listened to. It's you they looked at. Yoursimple.com. True voice made foundations vibrate. And that, no school, no method, no algorithm can teach it. It's the echo of a soul that survived the fire and, no longer needs to convince. You never sought to shine. You chose to exist fully, even when it disturbed. And that existence became the breaking point. Because the further you go, the more the set collapses around you, not by destruction, but because truth doesn't share the stage with illusion. So prepare yourself, because what you still carry in silence is about to shatter the last echoes of their lie. They waited for you in the wings of their hollow plays, but you weren't acting in their theater. They left a role empty, thinking you'd fight to fill it, but you weren't there to enter their story. You were there to change the DNA of the narrative itself. Their script was repetitive, predictable, built on foundations too fragile to bear truth. Inflated egos, soulless plots, twists without meaning. But you arrived with another energy, another language, another breath. You didn't come to fit in, you came to disrupt the norm, not for provocation, but because you were never compatible with the false. You didn't follow trends because trends are cyclical. You carry a timeless direction. You don't seek approval because what you do doesn't need validation. It just needs to be released. And that's when the foundations begin to shake, because your appearance isn't a surprise. It's a declaration of air when you speak. It's not an opinion, it's a turning point. When you act, it's not a reaction, it's a cosmic realignment. And that no actor can simulate. No director can orchestrate. You don't walk with the others. You move in parallel on a frequency. Few can hear, but all will eventually feel. What you carry is too true to go unnoticed, too rare to be compared, too pure to be diluted. And now, their script fades, their set turns to dust. Because what you offer isn't a new scene in their theater, it's an entirely new dimension. You're not stepping onto the stage. You're overturning the curtain itself. They try to label you. To understand, you to translate you into their language. But your essence fits. No known dictionary. You are a new spiritual syntax. A dialect only those who have suffered, healed, and transcended can recognize. And while they still try to play the old game, you've already changed the rules. Silently. With grace. With an intensity that doesn't need an echo. Because your presence alone imprints a new tempo in every room. You enter, this isn't just a rise. It's a total overhaul. A collapse of the superficial. An uprising of the sacred. And this uprising isn't an event, it's a permanent installation. You don't need a stage. You are the sanctuary. You don't need an audience. You are the revelation souls were waiting for, without knowing it existed. And now that you're standing, the world no longer turns the same way. Spotlights tremble, scripts crumple because something vaster has just entered. And that something, it's you. But listen closely, this isn't the end. Yet what you're about to hear in the conclusion will unite every fragment of your story in a single moment of truth. They thought you were just a chapter, but you were the final page. The one never forgotten, the one that closes the book by revealing all the hidden meaning between the lines. They thought you had vanished, but you weren't absent. You were in divine gestation, refined, purified, prepared for a moment no one could hijack. They tried to replace you, but they put hollow silhouettes where a soul should have been, copies without frequency, presences without impact. But now, you're here, and nothing can remain standing before the truth. You embody the silence. False narratives dissolve. The lights no longer shine to distract. They shine to honor you. You're not the spectacle. You're the final period. Not a period that ends, but one that rebuilds. Not a period that says it's over, but one that whispers, now, everything begins. And those who tried to silence you, to replace you, to erase you, they finally understand one thing they refused to admit. You weren't late. You were reserved for the end. And it's this sacred timing that gives your arrival the weight of a spiritual earthquake. Comment. Now I am the resolution to etch into the universe that you are the one the world was waiting for. Without knowing it, subscribe because this wasn't a peak. It was a prelude to your reign. Share this message with another chosen one who needs to awaken. Don't keep this truth to yourself because the hour of silence is over. Welcome to your stage. Welcome to your reign. Welcome to the inevitable. God propels you. The curtain rises in. This time, the whole world is watching because your hour isn't near. It's now.